Hi everyone. The average new car payment is over $750 a month, and 20% of payments are $1,000 a month. Today I want to talk about driving a used car and why it may be your best play. My name is Noah and I'm a 40-plus CPA passionate about retirement and living your best life. So I personally drive a used car. I've always driven used cars. My current daily driver is a $5,000 first generation electric vehicle. It has its limitations, but it's still a great car. And I love driving. A few reasons why I choose to drive a used car, and also why I choose to drive an electric car. On the used car front, it's kind of simple, right? We all have limited resources, and I'd rather spend my money either on things that I enjoy, and that would be taking a vacation, maybe a purchase, that's something that's going to enhance my life, or to invest it for the future, for financial freedom, etc. I drive an electric car because it was a great value to purchase, and where I live, gas prices are around $5 a gallon, so it adds up really fast. In addition, my electric car has almost zero maintenance, so there's no oil changes, there's no transmission that can go bad. A lot of the maintenance items are much less on the electric car. My car is, because it's a first generation, does have its limitations, and that would be range. I'm only able to drive about 80 miles, so that means that I'm not using it for long road trips. But it fits my driving style, my lifestyle, so about 95% of my driving is covered with it. Prior to that, our prior purchase was a used Toyota Camry that we've now had for 10 years, and we purchased that for a little under $10,000. So you can do the math versus spending $50,000 on a car. Now for you, it might not be $10,000. Maybe it's $15,000, $20,000, or $25,000, but that used car tends to be a sweet spot in the market versus giving you what you need transportation-wise and perhaps some comforts in there and not breaking the bank. Now, what are the cons to buying a used car? One is, if you value cars and you drive a lot, perhaps you want to splurge and spend the money on the exact car that you want with all the luxuries and technology that you may need. Some of the common concerns that people will have with buying a used car is, what if I get stranded somewhere? That's a minimal concern unless you think your car is going to have ongoing maintenance issues where you're getting stranded on a regular basis. If it's a one-off event, that can happen with any car, right? And most people have cell phones. If they have AAA, they might have towing included. If they don't, you can always call a tow truck. And it's, to be honest, quite reasonable versus the $1,000 a month that you're paying in a new car. If that's something that really bothers you, then, and is a big stressor for you, then maybe it's worth the new car for you. Maybe you go out there and you have the new car and you find ways to pay for it. And you'll find other areas you cut back on. Maybe you don't value eating out, or maybe vacations or traveling is not something that's valuable to you. So you'll find other ways to get by. If you're a car person and you love the car, this video is not suggesting you should give up your car. And if you do drive new cars, that's fine. The recommendation, or what my suggestion would be, just make sure that you, if you drive them 8 to 10 years, then the math still works out fine. If you're switching new cars every 3 years, 4 years, that's where it's going to eat you alive a bit in your pocketbook. Okay, and then I wanted to talk real quickly about how to buy a used car. So I'm not a dealership person. I find, generally speaking, that you're not getting a good deal at the dealership, and there's just a hassle factor and a haggle factor with the dealerships. But if you do buy at dealerships, the first thing that's very important is you should get pre-approved for financing, not at the dealership. So ideally you would go to a local credit union because credit unions tend to have better car loan rates than your traditional bank. But you should get pre-approved. And if you go into the dealership and you end up buying a car and they offer better financing, then by all means consider it. But many times the dealerships are making their money in the finance department, and oftentimes you don't get a good deal. So if you have your financing lined up ahead of time, then you don't have to worry so much about that, and you're not stuck at the mercy of what they tell you. For me, I prefer to buy my cars from a private party individual. So this means looking on Facebook Marketplace these days, or Craigslist, and finding a local car, generally in your city, that someone is selling. Generally, you would expect to pay a bit less than you're going to pay at a dealership. And if you're lucky, you're going to find a car that's been well taken care of. So for me, the ideal scenario is an individual or a family who's had a vehicle for a number of years and are the first owners of the vehicle. And they're looking to upgrade now to a new car. So two things I look for. One is kind of the scenario I just outlined, but also what is the reason that they're selling? If they're looking to upgrade, that's great. Sometimes people don't want to share what might be wrong with it, or sometimes you don't get such a clear issue. There's also a lot of cars listed on Facebook and other marketplaces that have salvage title, and I just avoid those. That's not necessarily a red flag by itself, but for me, it's a screening tool to say I'm going to avoid potential trouble cars by avoiding any ones that don't have a clean title. And there's also a lot of folks that are getting cars at the auction or elsewhere, fixing them up and reselling them. So you can click on their account, if it's on Facebook Marketplace, for instance, and you can see their selling history. And if they've sold 10 cars, then you know it's probably not the scenario I described, where you have a family that's looking to upgrade their vehicle. And then finally, very importantly, is always have your car checked out by an independent mechanic. So generally how this works is you may go with the seller, since they still own the car, and you go to an independent mechanic shop, and you usually pay them it used to be like $80 to $100, and most mechanic shops have a service that they call, new car or purchase inspection or something along those lines. And you're basically just paying them for them to take 30 minutes and assess the car for you. And oftentimes they'll give you a report, at least verbal, if not written. And then you have some reassurance that there's nothing major wrong with the car before you do the purchase. In addition to that, when you do get down to doing the purchase, and so you should be doing one of two things. Either you're bringing cash to the table to purchase it from someone, or you meet at your bank and you sign the paperwork and do the transactions there. Those are kind of the two ways I think nowadays that you can get it done. I would not do Venmo, Cash App, any of those services. There's just too much that can go wrong in that scenario. So let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. This is just my personal feeling on vehicles and kind of how I've approached it over the years. But I would love to hear in the comments, do you agree? Do you do it differently? Let me know. I'd love to hear from y'all. And thanks again for watching.